Hi guys, welcome to class. Mr. Vallejo, this is biology. All right, so I can see that some of you have a textbook and not all of you have a textbook. So um, yeah, that's not that fun. So let's go and take a look at a canvas together and let's see what we can work out for today. All right. All right, so now I'm gonna share screen. Oh, I didn't share screen. I went somewhere else. All right, I'm gonna share screen. And then I'm going to, actually I can't share just yet because I have to turn it on myself over here. All right, so now I'm gonna share screen. Oh, it looks like I am sharing. So I'm gonna go to, let's see, we'll go to Gorman because I have several Canvas accounts. I just started teaching at a new school. I'm teaching biology on Thursdays at a college in Louisiana. I don't know what I said. Do you want me to teach in Louisiana? It's like, all right, no problem. We can do that. All right, so there's Canvas for you guys, and I'm going to minimize me. You can't see this anyway, but the Zoom window takes up some space. So I'm going to take a look over here, and we are, so this is week 3, I think. So let's go over here. Actually, all right, so here's module 2. But I'm going to divide it up into 2 weeks because if you remember, and here's the good news. If you remember, I was saying at the beginning of the year that there are 39 chapters in the book. And according to the the Gorman, what teachers call the pacing plan, we're supposed to do all 39 chapters in 35 weeks of school or something like that. So it worked out to be about a chapter a week. So that's what we started doing. That's why the first week there was so much to do. Well, then I went to a meeting this past Friday. I said, do you guys really want us to finish the whole book? And someone else said that really we're supposed to do 80%. And if you were at an on-ground school, you do way less. So we're gonna do less than we've been doing. So that's good news for some of you. And some of you I got a couple of emails said, you know, I have the most homework out of all my classes. I have the most homework in biology. And I said, well, okay, so people are giving you less work, but that's okay. Over here, what's today? Oh, I had the dates wrong. I put the 8th, but I meant the 9th. Over here, this is what we're doing today. So I'm gonna go ahead and in Canvas, put a new text header. And what that does is it'll split up this module for us. And I'll say week 2 of this module or something like that. I don't like that, I can change it later. So I'm gonna go and put it over there so that we can be a little bit more organized. And we're gonna stick that right over here. So now you can see what's going on for today because we did all of this last time. So hopefully you finished it already. We watched a film and then you made a model of a food web. It was actually a diagram on a piece of paper that had a bunch of arrows, if you remember. And then you also made a table that classified all of the different categories, what we call trophic levels. So you're supposed to take organisms in the food web and then take them and put them in 5 different trophic levels. Those were an autotroph or a producer like a plant. And then all of the other organisms were what we call consumers or heterotrophs. And you remember there was an herbivore and a carnivore and an omnivore and then a detritivore. And just to review, an herbivore eats plants basically, and a carnivore eats meat, and an omnivore eats either. And then the one that some of you hadn't heard about before, a detritivore, the simple term for that is a decomposer. So those are things that break down other things like mushrooms, like bacteria. Those are detritivores. So that's what you learned last week in this exercise, in this activity where it says food webs. And so you had a straight line, which was a food chain, but then you started adding a bunch of stuff to that, and then you got this really complicated food web. All right, so so that's where we were last week. And so this week, instead of going to a new chapter, chapter 3, we're going to finish up chapter 2, plus anything else you haven't turned in for this. I think that that the end of the learning target, not the learning target, what do we call it in Gorman, learning period. The end of the learning period is coming up in about a week or so. So I need to give you a grade, but basically what I'd like you to do is go backwards and finish any work that you haven't done, especially if you don't have a textbook. And you do get a textbook, you can go backwards and do work. Here's the work for today though. For today, there's another video for you to watch. It's one of those short Amoeba Sister videos. You're gonna watch that on your own and then work on this worksheet right here. This right here, this is called a sharrow. It's a square with an arrow in it. When you see a sharrow, so this is a hyperlink and it should take you right to it, but sometimes that doesn't work on somewhere in Canvas, but it does have a sharrow. If you have a sharrow, you can also hit that and that'll take you to the next web page. So the first thing I'd like you to do today is watch this video and then answer this worksheet right here. Then it says take notes on pages 30 to 52. That's a significant portion of time, but I also recognize that some of you don't have a book. So when we come back from doing the video, I'll give you a short talk on energy pyramids and trophic levels, and then you can take Cornell notes on that and then turn those in. And then we have, I don't think that page number is right. I'm gonna have to check that. That's, oh wait, let me see, scrolling up. Oh, that's right. In chapter 1, we did science notebook pages 1 to 10. And then this week, I'd like you to do science notebook 11 to 18. But some of you still don't have this book. So while you're doing this video, I need to take pictures and put them in there so that you guys could get ahead. Now these all say September 8th, but they should have said September 9th. I got my dates goofed up. So that's where we're headed today, but I also want to get you started on a long-term science experiment where you're gonna need some cardboard and you're gonna need some paper towels. So I don't know if you're like us and we go to the store less than we used to before COVID. And so we get a lot of boxes. Trash day for us was just yesterday, so we might not have as many laying around, but I know that we have some cardboard boxes. So what I'd like you to do, let's see if I can find mine, is we're going to make a plant herbarium press today. And a plant press is I'll tell you more when we get to it, but what I need is you should have at least 2 pieces of cardboard from a cardboard box that are as big as a piece of paper. So 8.5 by 11. Okay, you need at least 2. If you can get more than 2, that's better. But you need at least 2. And then you need paper towels that are about the size of a piece of paper. Okay, so we're going to start our plant press collection today, just like a biologist would. And then I'm going to have you, I'm going to show you how to dry them and how to classify them, and then also how to mount them properly, just like you would if you were to go to a museum. They have collections of these materials, and yours will look just like theirs. at my one of my college jobs, there's a whole collection of these plant parts, and you can see a history and a progression of how plants took over an area, and you can see some plants that aren't in the area over anymore, or you can see some plants that are, you know, that sometimes you have people collecting berries and cones and things like that. We're going to start with leaves, and I'll show you how to do that. But I'll do that when we come back. I mean, let me go back to Canvas real quick so I can get my head on this. First thing we're going to do is you're going to work on this video, work on the video with the worksheet. So you don't need a textbook for that. If you are done with this, then if you have a book, then get started on any of the book assignments. But when we come back from the worksheet, we're going to go and I'll do this lecture on energy pyramids and trophic levels, and you'll take Cornell notes on that. Oops, see, right now there's nothing in it, but I'm going to put the recording of it in there. And then after we break from the lecture, there will be more time to work on your book assignments, and I will take photos of this one and this one so you can get started if you don't have a book. And then around that time, I'll also go over the plant herbarium specimens, and hopefully sometime during the time when you finish the worksheet, you have time to search for, let's say, 10 paper towels and 2 pieces of cardboard at least. 4 pieces are better, but two minimum of 2. And also, should we do this? You don't need this yet. Later on, you're going to need printer paper. You're going to need printer paper for each of your, for each of the leaves you collect from each of the different plants you collect. We're going to do that. And we'll have time to collect leaves today also. And so wherever you are, there's a plant near you, I'm sure. So we're going to give you time to go collect those, and I'll show you how to press those. All right. So in our first section, in my first section, what it is I'd like you to go and take a look at the Amoeba Sisters video and then answer the worksheet and turn that into Canvas, please. So I will release you to do that, but I will also play it in the background because some of you need to hear it apparently through Zoom. But if that's not you, it might be confusing. So you could either log out of Zoom and then come back in, or you could just pause this and then open up a window. Okay, so I'm getting some messages in the chat, and so let's take a look at it. All right. Okay, Moses, Zach, that's great. Just hang in there for the first break and try to find those paper towels and cardboard pieces.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, sure, Christian, go.
Just yesterday, I actually got rid of all the cardboard because the trash guy came.
Yeah, I know, that was my trash day too yesterday. So that's fine. But when, like, over the course of the week, if you get some, and try to save that. I would say get the paper towels anyway.
Those.
And you have any newspaper or anything? Newspaper would work too.
No, I don't.
No? Or even like junk mail. Like I have a coupon book of junk mail. Oh, you can't see that. You know? As long as it's kind of like or magazine or something.
I could go check in my mailbox.
It's a piece of cardboard. That would work until you get some cardboard.
Okay.
Okay, so, right. So some of you actually already did some of the assignments or even all the assignments for today. That's because I already preloaded them. And like I said last week, I don't mind if you do stuff ahead of time, but that's what we're doing in class today. So I'm going to give you time to either watch the video and do the worksheet, or go and go and find some paper towels and some cardboard. And if you find yourself still needing stuff to do, take a look at the canvas so you can get even further ahead if you want to. But let's look at the clock, 8:52. Let's come back at 9:30 and see where you are and whether we can go on. I would guess that you'll be done with the worksheet by then and hopefully have some of your materials gathered together by 9:30, okay? All right, so if there are no more questions, and some of you want to ask questions because you're done with stuff. So if you want to stay in the room, you can do that. But everyone else, you're released to go take a look at the video and the worksheet and go find some cardboard and paper towels, okay? All right, I'll see you in a little bit. I'll see you at 9:30. Didn't hit record again, but I'm wondering if you finished the video. So how many people finished the video and the worksheet? Oh, really? And I got almost everybody. Looks like none of you, well, it looks like a couple of you might need more time. And that's good. And you can always turn it in anytime up to, well, I didn't change the deadline yet. It says September 8th, but in Canvas, it should say September 9th. And then I'd like you to finish that by today. In this section, what I'd like to do is give you some instruction on your plant press. And so I had to turn off the background, which is a lake in Alaska that I visited about 20 years ago. Okay, so I have a piano light right here. That's why I got a really good shadow. So here's my piece of cardboard. And here's a piece of paper over here, just so you can see that they're about the same size, but I made my, I kept my piece of cardboard the same size as a paper towel. I have some paper towels right here. These are the ones we use at our house because we use so many. These are the trifold like you have at school. And so what I did was I cut the cardboard the same size as the paper towel. Basically, what you're doing is you're gonna have a sandwich of cardboard, and you put a paper towel on there like that. And then what we're gonna do in this next section, because I don't think I told you to do this, but go ahead and get some leaves. Now, take them directly off the plant. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna put a leaf there like that. And then you're gonna put another paper towel on that. Now, other things you could do that are useful is one thing is like if you still get newspapers, a newspaper is actually very absorbent. So what you need to do is cut a piece of newspaper about this big, and then make a sandwich of paper towel, leaf, maybe a piece of newspaper, maybe another piece of cardboard. Now you could just have two pieces of, oh, you can't see that. You could have just two pieces of cardboard that make like if it was sandwich, it'd be your bread. It'd be on the top and the bottom. But if you have more, then you can put it in between and then put a new piece of paper towel and then a different leaf. And if the leaf is small, you can actually put multiple leaves there. Now I made this thing last week, and I've been pressing these things for a week. So these leaves are pretty dried out, but that's gonna be the goal. And that's, you're trying to dry them out, and then we're going to mount them later. Probably in 2 weeks, we'll start mounting them. So I have that. And then I don't have my wife gets a newspaper because she's a writer, but I'm not near any of it. But later, what I should do is I should take some of the newspaper that she's already gone through and cut it about this size, and that would be a good thing. I'd probably want to put paper towels on either sides of the leaf, though. Like here's the leaf, and then here's a paper towel, and then I might put a piece of newspaper instead, or even a piece of cardboard right there. And what the cardboard does is it keeps it all flat, because some of your leaves are going to be a little bit taller, and so the other specimens are going to not be as flat. So there's that. Here's a little piece that fell off of that one, and you could see I'm a little off center. That's because I've been putting them all in the center. I can feel that this is starting to puff up a little bit. So I want to put some of the leaves on the sides there so I could even it out. This is called an Herbarium plant press. Now I have a real one at school that is made out of, instead of cardboard on the edges on the outside, it's made out of wood. But this is going to work. I can tell already. This works really well actually, without even having those pieces of wood there. So like I said, I've been drying these for a week, but after a week, yours should look pretty flat and pretty dry. And so there's my plant press. So I'm gonna press these some more, and then next week, what we're gonna do is not next week, in 2 weeks, I'll show you how to prepare these for your herbarium plant collection. In about a week, I will show you how to classify them, and then we're gonna make labels for these, and this is the same kind of thing you would see in any college, in any botany laboratory, anything like that. In my desk, I have some clips, which work okay. Now, these are binder clips. And so I'm gonna take a binder clip and do that kind of thing, right? Another thing you can do, and hang on, we got someone in the waiting room trying to get in. So now I got one on either side like that. But the most important thing is, I'm going to take these off, and I did that just to show you when you move it around, you want one of those. But one thing Gorman did for me, like the day before school started, is I got a shipment of books from Gorman. See, I didn't get mine till real late either. And I got my chemistry. Oh, the chemistry book is really heavy. So what you want to do with these is you want to put a real heavy book on top of that, like that. And so I got my chemistry book, I got my biology books right there. And so I want to put these somewhere where they can stay like this for a week or so. 2 weeks would be better. And so that's what we're setting up here today. So if you could, now that you have your materials, during this next time, when we split, what I'd like you to do is go outside and get 10 different plants and leaves. Now, 10 different leaves from different plants, because now that you got 10 paper towels, you're gonna put in between 2 paper towels, you're gonna put a different leaf. Okay, so that's what I'd like you to do for the next session when we break. So let's go to share screen and make sure we're on track. All right. So I'm gonna give you, I don't know how much time you need to do this. Some of you still don't have the materials, I'm gonna guess. So go out and find some leaves, and then we'll press them and put them in the plant press and put that together. And then we'll come back and I'll give you the talk on, I'll give you this talk when we get back. on energy pyramids and trophic levels. It's 8:41 now. Let's try coming back at 10:15. Okay, come back at 10:15, and I'll talk about energy pyramids and trophic levels. And also, for those of you who still don't have the book, during the time when we're apart, I will try and get those screenshots to uh, Canvas so that you can get going on these. This is the workbook pages. So those you can write the answers on a piece of paper or type them on a Google Doc. And then same thing here. Once you get the images, then you can write your answers in a different file or on a piece of paper if you want to. Some of you, a couple of you asked in chat if you could do it on paper, and of course you can do it on paper. Do it on paper if you want, and then take a picture of it and turn it in. One more thing before we split, I want to show you this. I just added this while we were away. In the first module, and mine is locked up. Well, not locked up, but it's closed. So I'm going to open that module up at the very, where'd it go? Whoops, that's not it. What I was trying to do was give you, I think I have to refresh is what happened. I did it on a different computer. So if you look at the very, there it is. If you look at the very bottom of the introductory module, for those of you who don't have a book especially, this is called Reading Essentials to Textbook. And what they did was they made this, and instead of being 50 pages long, it's like 3 pages long. That's an exaggeration. So like, what's the reading is what, 20 pages? Right here, it's pages 30 to 52. Let's take a look and see. Well, if I take a look, I'll lose you. But if you open that up, it'll look like this. Oh, it's not bad. Okay, so it'll look like this. And you can see it's 528 pages long. But what they did was it's like a summary of the chapter. So you can go to the summary of chapter 2, and it's a lot shorter than the 20 pages of the textbook. So if you want to read that, I think you can get most of the answers reading there. Even if you have a textbook, you might want to use this anyway, because then you can make your summary off of this, and you won't have to read the whole textbook, and you'll get all the essential information. You're not being lazy, you're being efficient. And so over here you can see, let's look at it. Here's chapter 2, and out of those, what was it, page 30 to 52, instead of 22 pages, now it looks like you're reading 10 to 23. You're only reading 13 pages. And so I bet you can still get the same information off of that. Maybe we'll start reading this all the time. I don't know. And going to the other one for reference, because this is pretty good. It tells you all the essential information. So especially if you don't have a book, use this. But if you do have a book, you might want to check it out anyway, because you can get just about all the information that you need based on this. All right, now it's 9:45. So I'm gonna release you until 10:20. So come back in the room at 10:20. During that time, start gathering some plants and then working on some of the assignments that are assigned for today. And then we'll come back at 10:20 for my talk on energy pyramids and trophic levels. Okay. For those of you leaving for today, I know a couple of you have to go. What you'll miss is the lecture. So check back on the video recording, and then you'll get the lecture off of that. Okay. All right. So that's for Jez and I at least, and I forgot who else needs to go. But yeah. So I record whenever I remember. So you're going to have to fast forward until pretty far into the recording to get to the part where I lecture on trophic levels and energy pyramids. Okay. All right. So collect those leaves, 10 leaves back for your plant press, and then we'll put them together, and then I'll start telling you about energy pyramids when we come back. All right, see you in a little bit then. Then we're going to take Cornell notes, whether they're electronic or on paper. Remember, if they're on paper, to draw those lines about a third of the way over to the right that goes all the way down, so that you have a space for your Cornell questions, and then have a space for your main notes, your Cornell notes. It's going to start out as a PowerPoint, and then I'm going to draw some diagrams. So if you're good at drawing with Google Docs or Microsoft Word, you'll be okay. But it might be that you want to take the drawings on paper and then take pictures of those, or you could even take a picture of your drawing and then splice that into your electronic notes if you wanted to do it that way. So let's go ahead and get started. I got a PowerPoint to share with you. So let's go to share screen. And there it is right there. And I want to share this from well, let's go from the very beginning. Then it'll be a review of some stuff that we have already gotten to anyway. You take a look at the screen. This is from Chapter 2, Section 1. And remember, we're studying ecology. Can you see a whole screen of the slide taking up the whole screen? It's white and it's almost the whole screen. Maybe some black edges. Okay, cool. All right, so ecology says ecology is a scientific discipline in which the relationships among living organisms and their environment. So we're going to learn the terms in Chapter 3 and 4. We're going to take a look at abiotic and biotic. So that's what we're studying when we're studying ecology. So the study of ecology is basically how living things and non-living things are related. And the fancy words are biotic and abiotic. And so that's right there. It was in 2.1 already, but I'm going to skip over that and take a look at right over here. Wanted to mention, and we touched on this last time, but we don't have notes on this yet. So I wanted to tell you that you skip over to here, the term autotrophs in that food web that you drew, you had the plants, and the plants are producers, also known as AKA producers. The producers are autotrophs. Auto means self, troph means food, autotroph. So organisms that collect energy from sunlight or inorganic substance to produce food. Mostly most of the autotrophs collect sunlight. So most autotrophs are plants, but there's some bacteria that can use the energy from just chemicals and then break the chemical bonds of those chemicals, mainly hydrogen sulfide. If you've ever smelled rotten eggs, that's hydrogen sulfide. That's a real stinky smell, but there's a lot of energy in those chemical bonds. So what some bacteria do is they break those chemical bonds and use instead of the sunlight. And then there are organisms that eat autotrophs. Those are heterotrophs. They either eat autotrophs or other heterotrophs. And so we touch on those already again. And if you know these, you don't have to write out their definition. But if you have a hard time remembering them, this is the general way that we do this. Herbivores are plant eaters. Carnivores are meat eaters. Omnivores eat both. And detritivores are decomposers. And detritivores eat detritus. And what's detritus? Detritus, things like dead leaves or, an insect that has died. Some other insects will come along and eat that right up. So those larger organisms like ants are detritivores in this case, and fungi break down rotten wood. But then when it gets down to a certain level, when it gets to a microscopic level, microscopic level, then bacteria will take it the rest of the way and turn those into chemicals that we can use uh, in the ecological system in the web of life. Okay, so there's a picture of some mushrooms right here. These are called shelf fungi. So it looks like it has a shelf on it. And it's sticking right out of the leaf or the rotten wood right there. And this is a shelf fungi, probably the fungus you're most familiar with. Like if you were getting a pizza and you like mushrooms on it, those are mushrooms called Basidiomycota. And Basidiomycota are also known as the more common non-scientific name is the shelf fungus. So bacteria, mushrooms that we eat are in this large group. We'll learn later in the year, the fungus is actually, there's other types like yeast are a type of fungi. And then we also have penicillin, which is, you know, a, a drug that we take to fight infections. Some of you are allergic to it, so but penicillin is come from something that comes from the fungus Penicillium, and that's a different type of fungus. So some fungi are large like this. We say they're macroscopic, and some fungi are small and they're microscopic. But all of these are detritivores, and they break down dead things or products of dead things, and then return them to the environment so that they can be used again. All right, my main thing today is this. I wanted to tell you about trophic levels in a pyramid. And so a trophic level, it says, is each step in a food chain or food web called a trophic level. But when we look at the energy pyramid, it's also going to be each level of the energy pyramid is called a trophic level. Okay, so here's a picture. Now here's, before we go to trophic levels, well, actually here, we'll stay on this slide for a minute. It says trophic levels represent each step in the food chain, which we already said. But typically the first level, the bottom level, are the producers. And then the second level are the herbivores. And then after that, we have the carnivores. Okay? Carnivores and omnivores, and we'll have a top predator at the very top. So those are the trophic levels. So if you have that down on your paper, that would be great. Because this is the main thing that we're going to take a look at today, trophic levels and energy pyramids. So that's what the trophic levels are. Let's go on. All right, food chains, we've already did a whole lab type activity on food chains where you made your own linear food chain. It goes from one plant to one organism to an herbivore, and then the herbivore is eaten by this omnivore, and then this omnivore is eaten by the carnivore. So this is just a straight path. But remember, a food chain is much more simple than a food web. And so here's a food web, and you can see there's drawings, arrows that go all over the place because different animals eat different things. Some are omnivores, some are herbivores, some are carnivores, but all these are eaten by different things. Over here you see a rattlesnake that eats a lot of different things, but then it's eaten by this raven over here. So raven in this food system is the top predator, the top carnivore, and then most of the things that you see that are green, those are plants. And this is obviously a desert type of ecosystem. So this is a food web, and the difference between a food web and a food chain is a food web is much more complicated. It has not just single connections, but it's interconnected. So all these food chains are linked together. All right, here's the main thing. I'm gonna switch over to the camera in a sec so I can show you the ecological pyramids. But when you take a standardized test, or those of you who figure out after a while that you actually like biology, you might have to, when you take AP biology, you'll have to know something about the energy pyramid. So let me switch over to my camera so I can show you on a piece of paper I'm going to draw an energy pyramid. So let me share that with, oh, no, I'm not going to share. I'm going to show you, hang on this piece of paper right here. This is the energy pyramid. So I'm going to write energy pyramid at the top. Okay, so there's my energy pyramid, and then, you know, a pyramid, it's got a big base at the bottom like that, and then it's got a much smaller section on top of that, and then I'm gonna make it 4 wide like that. So it's an energy pyramid. And the thing about the energy pyramid is it shows you the transfer of energy as we go up from the top, or as we go up from the very bottom. Now, the very bottom, those are the producers, or the fancier word that we use was the autotrophs. And what the autotrophs do is, remember, they can take and absorb the sun's energy. So this is energy from the sun. And remember, this level is the only level that can go and trap the light energy. So plants have that advantage. They have something called chlorophyll, and then they go through photosynthesis, and we'll learn about that later. But you probably already know something about photosynthesis. And if you look at the word photosynthesis, photo means light and synthesis means to make. So we have the autotrophs as your first level. Now, the next level are things that eat plants. So these are the herbivores. So herbivores can be really small, like insects that eat plants. Like we've said several times now, grasshoppers. A grasshopper will eat a leaf. Ants will eat leaves. So small insects will eat plants. But then you also have herbivores being much larger, like a cow is an herbivore. It eats grass. And the largest land animals, the elephants, are also herbivores. They eat like 200 pounds of plants a day. Pretty crazy, right? So those are herbivores. But the thing is, in the environment, out of all the energy that is trapped by the sun, or all the sunlight that comes and hits the earth, only about 5% of that energy is trapped by plants. Now, 10% of that energy, no, even more than that, 50% of the energy is bounced off of by the atmosphere, by clouds in the atmosphere, by stuff in the atmosphere. The energy from the sun bounces off, and then the ocean absorbs a lot of the energy from the sun, because, as you know, 70% of the earth is covered with water. And so that water absorbs a lot of that energy. And then some of that energy goes into the weather. And so the sunlight is reflected, and the sunlight is absorbed by the oceans, and some of the energy goes to the weather. And so when you add all this up, there's just a little bit of the energy, I'll say most energy, most, and the abbreviation for energy is a squiggly E like that. Most energy is reflected, or goes to the oceans, or it goes to driving weather patterns. Only 5% of that energy is absorbed by autotrophs. And the thing is, you guys, this is something that people don't realize, that almost half of the energy of the sunlight that is absorbed by autotrophs, about half of it is from algae in the ocean. So people complain about trees and how we shouldn't cut down trees, but about half of that energy comes from land plants, like like the forest, for example. But what some people don't realize is that, well, half of it is algae in the ocean. And so you probably know this term. The algae in the ocean are called the plankton, or more specifically, the phytoplankton. So the phytoplankton are actually very important. And without the phytoplankton, then the world wouldn't work, because you have a thin layer about a foot deep of these microscopic algae that live on the top of the ocean, and they're also going through photosynthesis. Okay, so in this energy pyramid, our biggest part is the base. It's the autotrophs right here. So those are the plants. Almost all of these are plants, but some of them are bacteria. As I mentioned earlier, there's some bacteria at the very bottom of the ocean that can absorb energy from the things in their environment, like hydrogen sulfide, that stinky smell in rotten eggs. So herbivores, remember, eat plants. And then on top of that, there are carnivores. And here are the carnivores right here. It could be an omnivore also, because it could be something that eats these other guys here, but I'll just write carnivores. But understand that at all these different levels, you could have omnivores that eat both plants and animals. So there are carnivores at this level right here. And then the energy pyramid can only be so high. And here's something that wasn't in your book that, that you need to know. Every time you go up a level, you lose most of the energy. Ooh, only 10% of the energy goes up each level. That's important. Only 10% goes to the next level. And then that's really important, because only 10% of that energy goes to the next level. So if you start out with only 5% of the sunlight that hits the earth is used for photosynthesis, then that means there's only 0.5% of that energy that goes up over here. And then to go to the next level, it's 0.05. And then that means that this top predator right here, this top predator in the environment, it could be a shark, it could be a human, it could be a killer whale, it could be a crow. Who eats crows, right? So if it's just 5%, there's 0.5, there's 0.05. The amount of energy that goes up the energy pyramid is only 0.005% of what hit the earth. So that's real important to know with the energy pyramids. So the energy pyramid tells you the trophic levels, and here are the different trophic levels that we already listed. And I'll remind you that there's also the omnivores, and there's also the detritivores. So now in our energy pyramid, we have all of the different types of trophic levels. We have autotrophs, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and detritivores. So those are all the trophic levels. I will put a star on the trophic levels so that you remember that all of these are the 5 different trophic levels. And then an energy pyramid, what an energy pyramid does is it shows you the transfer of energy as it goes up. And what's really, really important, that's different from anything you've read and different from some of the stuff you saw in the video, is that only 10% of the energy goes up from one level to the next level. So this 10% number is very important to remember when you're studying ecology. And this is why you don't have very many trophic levels in an energy pyramid, because each time you go up, you lose, 10% goes up, but that means you lost 90%. So 90% of the energy is lost and only 10% goes to the next level. So that is pretty crazy. All right, as we take a look at energy pyramids, there are different types of pyramids. And an energy pyramid is always, I'm gonna write this down so that you do too. an energy pyramid is always biggest at the base. Okay, that's not always true for different types of pyramids. There's a couple of other pyramid shapes that might be valuable to know about. This is called a numbers pyramid. It might look like this, and then this, and like that. Okay, so this one is not biggest on the base. This might be something called a numbers pyramid. And another type of pyramid could be a biomass pyramid, which might be like that, and then something like that. So there are different types of pyramids. Now, what are these pyramids? Well, this one, if you were to take a look at, for example, a forest might be something on a numbers pyramid, because in a forest, if you were to count all the trees in a forest, it'd be a certain number, but the number of animals that eat those trees might be much bigger, and that's why that number would be wider. On the other hand, on a biomass pyramid, it might be it's the same thing. If it was a forest, it might be if you were to take all the mass of all the trees and weigh it out, it will be way bigger than the amount of animals that eat those few trees. So that's called a biomass pyramid. So we have a numbers pyramid and a biomass pyramid, but the one that's most important is the one I spent the most time on, and it's called an energy pyramid. Okay, so energy pyramids. So in this talk, not only did we take a look at energy pyramids, but we took a look at trophic levels. And so those were the two important things I needed you to get out of this lecture: the energy pyramids and the shape of the energy pyramids, and that only 10% of the energy goes up each time. And there are 5 different trophic levels. And the 5 different trophic levels, I starred here as the autotrophs, the herbivores, the carnivores, the omnivores, and the detritivores. Okay, so if you can take those notes that you just took, and not only from the PowerPoint, but also from this diagram right here, you take those and put them together as your Cornell notes, then that's what I'm expecting to get in Canvas from you. Let's take a look at Canvas again. So I'm going to share the screen, and in Canvas you can see, I'll go back to the modules for today. If you can take a look at the modules for today, you can see that you have right here, it says energy pyramids and trophic levels. So if you can just take your notes and turn those notes in right there. Today is the 9th, but I have the same class tomorrow. So that's why I kept it at September 10th. And I'm going to go ahead and change all of these deadlines to later anyway, because some of you don't even have a book yet. So it's hard for you to do anything if you don't have your book, and that's not your fault. So in the beginning here, I'm not going to take any late penalties, but I do need to tell you that the end of the grading period is the 18th. So it's next Friday. So, so there's the science notebook. I didn't take pictures of the pages, but if you don't have a book, then watch out for that. And if you don't have a book, ignore the deadline and just finish it up before next Friday. And then over here, let's show all these other things. We have September 8th, we're going to change that. I think most of you finished it in class. I see a number 13 there. But I'm going to go ahead and make this for Thursday. Okay. And then also we'll do that for all of the other assignments in the second part of the second module. So week 2 of this module. Now we have September 10th, September 10th, September 10th. I got 2 more to change. Now this one, remember, if you don't have a book, it says here to take notes on chapter 9 of the online book. You could do that. There's 2 sections to read. Or I will also say this. Even better, I'll say if you don't have your books yet, then take notes on the essential readings for chapter 2. And so the essential readings are the ones that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to make a link to that. I'm going to go to File. What were those called? Let's see. There's your workbook pages, video recaps. There you are. Reading essentials. I had it backwards. So if you don't have your book yet, then read chapter 2 for reading essentials. I'm going to change that to make it match. Reading essentials for chapter 2. Essential readings. All right, so now you're going to have a link to that PDF, which is much shorter than reading the actual textbook. So if you're feeling stressed out and you want to, especially for people on Thursday, they're saying there's too much work. Okay, so chapter 2 is like over 20 pages long, but this is much shorter. So read this if you want to, and you can turn this in if you haven't already done it. Okay, remember we're going to change the deadline to the 10th, so I'm going to change that to the 10th. But again, if you don't have a textbook, the deadlines don't matter that much in the beginning, especially for learning period 1. It's just everything needs to be done by the 18th. So, so make sure that you do that. And let's go back to modules one more time. And then I'll change that last one here to chapter 2 assessment, back to September 8th also. And these page numbers, I don't think are active yet because I don't remember taking a picture. Let's look. And let's see, I bet you these are, yeah, see, this is chapter 1, not chapter 2. So I made the link, but I haven't replaced the link with the correct photo yet. So, so if you don't have a book, don't use these links because these links are from chapter 1. So I'm going to go back over here and edit it and change it to, I'm going to change it to September 10th. But again, I'll tell you again, and I said this several times already. All right, try to get it done by tomorrow midnight. But really, anything you have, try to turn in everything by next Friday because I have to turn in grades after next Friday. So after next Friday, that weekend, then I'll just go to Canvas and make sure everything's graded. And then whatever your grade is in Canvas, then I'll go into PLS and then I'll put your grade into that. So you'll get probably a grade report and your PLTs will get one also. Okay, so here's the rest of the period. I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and keep working and work on any of those things that you still need to do. Maybe some of you are done with everything. If that's you, that's great. But at least you probably need to take your Cornell notes and where are they? Take your Cornell notes. That's the wrong unit. Take your Cornell notes and then add 5 questions and write the summary and turn that in. Let's check back at 11:15 one last time to see how you're doing and then send you on your way with your assignments for the week and check your plants and stuff. Okay, so I'll meet you back here at 11:15, and we'll give you your final instructions for today. Okay? I'm still sharing. So any questions before we scoot? So as we wrap up, let's go back to Canvas so we can make sure you understand what we did today and what you need to accomplish while we're separate from each other. This is my chem class, so let's go to back to biology. And if we scroll down to the second module, remember I put in a divider for us there. So today, what you did was you watched a video by Amoeba Sisters on food webs and energy pyramids. So then after you did that, we also we made your plant press, and we gave you time to look for some plants outside your house or apartment, and you grabbed some of those. Hopefully you've already set those up. I'll get back to that in a second. But while we're on Canvas, you also took notes, and hopefully you turned those notes in already. Then we gave you time to work on the book assignments also today, the reading from chapter 2, the pages from the consumable notebook, science notebook, and then at the end of the chapter, there are some questions. Some of you still don't have books, but I will post those photographs of pages so that you can work on them. Remember, you have September 10th deadlines. If you can meet those, great. If you don't have a book, then don't worry about the deadline and just get everything done by September 18th. These things here, let's not worry about right now. Let's just make sure that we're all set for learning period 1 and be all set for that so you can get your good grades. You can also go backwards and do any of the things that you miss. I would love it if you turn those in. All of these assignments are still open in Canvas. You can still submit them. So if you missed any of them, for sure, go back and turn them in, and then I can give you a much better grade for learning period number 1. All right, so let's stop the share screen, and I want to remind you as you're doing your plant collection, remember what you have is you have a sandwich. You've got a cardboard on top and a cardboard at the bottom. You've got paper towels and then a leaf, paper towel, and then a leaf, paper towel, and then a leaf. And then what you do, if you have 10 of those, 10 plants, then what you're going to do is you're going to take these and you're going to put them underneath something very heavy and just let it sit until next week, and we'll take a look at it next week. Next week, we might have to change some of the paper towels. If they stay even a little bit moist, then these leaves start to get mildew on them. So you don't want to have any mold growing in your house. So we'll take care of that. Those clips I showed you are great for when you're moving this thing around, but take them off when you put them under something heavy. I almost always use books, but if you have something else that's really heavy that you don't move around, then put it underneath there, and we'll continue with that next time. Some of you are working a lot faster than others. I will probably post next week's stuff a little bit early again if you want to get that going. If you want to wait till we have class again on Wednesday, that's fine too. But whatever we do on Wednesday has to be done by Friday of next week, because that's the end of the first grading period. That's the end of learning period 1. Alrighty? So that's what we've done today, and that's where we're headed. And at this point, do you have any questions? All right, well, far out, I'll dismiss you then and let you finish up the rest of your assignments. And then be sure to take a break at 11:30 before your next class. Want to make sure you're not just sitting in front of a computer all day long like I seem to be. Okay? All right, we'll see you later then. We'll see you on Wednesday. Email me if you have any problems.
Bye,
Have
thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. Bye, Lois. Bye, Sophia. Have a great week.
See you
You want to
later.
buy books. Okay, bye. I'll try to get those assignments ahead of time so that you can get started on them.